First off, Dev, like reactions, my thoughts were to the people involved. There's young children, including, newborns effectively, that are innocent in this, didn't sign up for this. Their lives are changed. The locker room of the players. The difference between college and the NFL is when you're the coach of a college program, you're taking on a responsibility to mold and shape young kids at a fragile time in their life, 18 to 22 years old. Suddenly they're thrust in.
This is a couple days old. I didn't get around to watching them, but I do kind of value their talks. Now, at this point, it looks like in the timeline. At this point, it looks like Dillingham is not going to be the next head coach there. It looks like he's going to sign an extension. Obviously, these things are pretty fluid, but I'm kind of curious their thoughts. I mean, they did an episode not that long ago, actually. It was after the Ohio State loss, talking about things that they think. Like who they think they would want, right? And I'm just curious, kind of now that job is open, like who do they think they can get? Now I don't, obviously, like you guys have gone on the record, I don't think that DeBoer is an option. I don't think that I want continuous rounds on this, right? I'll start to continue. I don't think DeBoer's an option. I don't think Kenny would go there personally. So I'm just generally curious what direction they're going to take, obviously, after giving their take on the whole Sharon Moore thing. And I wonder if they're going to go and talk about how much they knew.
Into a situation they didn't sign up for. The recruiting class that we talked about on our last show. Those parents trusted Michigan and to take their kids and help them realize their full potential. And all of a sudden, those questions are going to have to be asked. It's really, really an unfortunate situation. We do not know, and we will not speculate about the timeline. It's rumored. I think a lot of people had heard whispers far before yesterday. We don't know what was known and when and why Michigan came to the decision to move on from Sharon at the timing in which they did.
So now, I mean, obviously this was beforehand, but since this podcast kind of came out, it was maybe not confirmed, maybe heavily speculated that I guess I don't know what's really been confirmed, but that she broke up with them on Monday. Kind of that's what led to a lot of this.
So we will not speculate there either, but certainly overall, man, just unfortunate for countless reasons, Steph.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad from top to bottom. Just the issues that are being presented is bad. It's bad for, like you said, the recruiting, the players, and all that. And it's so important because, when you have a head coach or any coach, honestly, when your parents go in those rooms and you're being recruited and everybody, obviously we talk about football, but it's a lot of becoming a man and doing all the different things to become the best version of yourself, not just as a football player, but as a student and as a guy. And most guys aren't going to go professional in football. That's just the reality of the situation. And it's great with the new NIL thing that you can benefit off of your ability, but it's 1%, right? And it's really 1% of 1% almost when you talk about going and having a long NFL career. So at some point, you're going to have to be a professional person. And a lot of that, it has come into question. And it sucks because it's our university, right? It's the University of Michigan, right? When this happens at Michigan State.
I do wonder if we're going to get some of the Michigan men talk from these two, because honestly, from all accounts, Jake Butt is all around great dude. I've heard nothing but really good things, and he does seem like someone who kind of cares about the morality within a program. I mean, I think that's kind of what sets apart the Big Ten and the SEC kind of holistically is it's always been the more obstacles to win up here because you're trying to win and win the right way. And I always joke that one title in Big Ten country is the equivalent of two in SEC country because they're not willing to go all out to get these wins. But now Michigan is showing us no, we're willing to go all out. Probably we're willing to sell our souls. At least that's going to be the perception. So I don't know if they can hide behind the morals thing anymore. I just wonder their take on it. I also haven't listened to them enough to hear them talk a lot about the SEC.
Or something like that. Everybody kind of scoffs and but you just don't expect it to happen at the University of Michigan. And
yeah.
The one thing I will say, as far as the recruiting class is concerned, we have a chance because firstly, the history of Michigan, for the most part, we're going to find a good football coach. And because of the situation, there's going to be a lot of vetting to see what kind of person he is, the kind of life he lives, and all those different things. And as much as you hate this, right, football, it still has become transactional, right? So a lot of the pieces that Michigan got in the recruiting class, I think they're still going to be able to keep them because of the transactional nature of what college football has become.
That's a good point. You do wonder, like, will Michigan kind of have to bend and like up the money for a lot of these guys to like keep them there, or are they going to be able to keep them there just based off the strength of the brand? I don't know. That is a good point, though. I think maybe if we see less movement, I think you can, for better or for worse, like acknowledge that maybe it's like a transactional kind of deal.
But it just doesn't look good, right? Because now every single school that is recruiting the same kids, right? Not only will they have some money as well, they can go out and say, well, look what they're doing over there, and that can kind of deter families from wanting to have their kids be at a university that is second to none, right?
Yeah.
An outstanding university athletically, academically, and it does build men, right? And so that's the frustrating part. One mistake or a few mistakes, whatever it is, has kind of almost derailed and I'm sure some people's view of what the University of Michigan is and what it can become for people like you and people like me, right? And I'm so thankful to the University of Michigan, and my experience was different. But you got to send prayers out because people are forgetting it's Christmas coming up, right?
Yeah.
Christmas.
This is how you do it, right? You do it from the standpoint of like, look, like I'm proud to be at the University of Michigan. I'm proud that I was a part of the University of Michigan, but I definitely like am not proud of this, and I'm disappointed in this, and like they let a lot of people down. I think this stance that like this could never happen, and like this like I like this stance more than I like the Cone stance, to be honest. I think it's more genuine. I think it's easier to like get on board with this one. So good job, Devin Gardner. I think he's really talented, really talented on the microphone.
It's coming up, right? And so all these kids, they got a football game still to play, right? His children, his what, you know what I mean?
It's going to be like it meant a lot to me when
it
means more than football. Michigan football is going to be
so
good.
Frustrating.
But
it's so frustrating, and yeah, I mean,
yeah, it meant a lot to me when Brady or Jim Harbaugh would talk about what it means to be a Michigan man. Like I really latched onto that, as I know you did too. I resonated with that message, and you look in the.
It's time to retire that phrase for a long time. I'm going to keep saying it. It's time to retire that for a while.
The Schembechler Museum, at the great leaders that have come through the school, and you say, man, I want to aspire to be like that one day. And when these things happen, those outside the program rightfully question the integrity of what that message means. They'd be crazy not to. But I still know, obviously, there's the overwhelming majority of people are great people, and this is a stain that's going to have to be addressed. In the beginning of that, addressing.
Okay, it's not just one stain; it's a culmination of stains. Like okay, like somebody dropped. Spilled a little bit of ketchup on something. All right, whatever. But like this is like just repeated like paint. This is like being shot with a paintball on a dress shirt. It's not like a little like tea stain or coffee stain. I think that's where people lose me a lot, generally speaking.
Was yesterday. The good thing for Michigan, they're so lucky to have Biff Poggi there because in an impossible situation, it's a premium on leadership, and having Biff Poggi there is important because he's been through a lot of these situations. He's actually been the interim coach, including this season. I think more importantly, he's independently wealthy. Like he chose to go to Michigan not for a paycheck or for his own ego or for what it could provide for him personally, because he loves football, he loves the kids, and he believes Michigan to be a special place. That person as a human to stand in and address the team. And I know the players love, respect, and trust him, as does the staff. Michigan is very, very lucky to have Biff Poggi. To your point about the timeline, too, I think it's worth mentioning. The transfer portal opens January 2nd for all of college football. It used to be when a coach was fired, the portal then, the 30-day window opened up immediately upon the coach being fired. That's no longer the case. It now waits. The portal would then open upon the next coach being hired. So Michigan has a window here, and time will be of the essence to go out and hire the right guy to lead this program, where you can keep that structure of talent, that young core in the recruiting class in place. And to your point, Dev, like this is one of the best jobs in all of football, college or the NFL. You have history, you have talent. College football is about resources.
I think history has never mattered less than it does right now. I'm not going to argue that it's not one of the best jobs. It obviously is one of the best jobs, but I think it's never. Like, history's never, ever, ever mattered less. Ever. Like, I mean, shit, dude. Like, Oregon is like a top 5 job. Like, A&M is a top 5 job. And it's like money over, history, I think, is the thing right now.
Michigan's resources compete with the best of them. Have you heard any names? Do you have any opinions or thoughts on where Michigan might go?
Yeah, I try not to listen to the names because everybody just throws names out, and so I don't see why I wouldn't do the same thing. And because I think we're a little more informed. No, or I would think so. I've
think
met
so,
with a
yeah.
lot of these coaches. I know a lot of these people. I've seen the way they've built programs. I've seen their personalities, and these are a few guys that I think that could be the head coach at the University of Michigan.
I mean, so we've done this before. Like, I've listened to him after the Michigan-Ohio State game. They talked about Joe Brady, who I think is not going there. I think Dable will be fascinating, but I think Dable wants to be in the NFL. I don't think you can. I mean, obviously, like, I don't think you can lure like a Kalen DeBoer, and maybe like that'll be one of my worst takes. But like, I think there's no way you lure Kalen DeBoer. I think honestly, like, if when you do this, it has to be Jed Fish. Like, you almost have to start there. Like Jed Fish, PJ Fleck. Because I think, honestly, like with the news coming out about another investigation at Michigan into the athletic department because of some of the issues they've got going on, I think, honestly, like this might be a job where you have to go get someone who you trust to develop culture rather than like the peak name that you think it could be, generally speaking, that you think you're worthy of, generally speaking.
Michigan, and I think it will be a home run, honestly, with either of them. And in no particular order, you all have already heard a couple weeks ago, we outlined that I thought Joe Brady would be a great addition. And obviously, 2019 LSU, you just referred to that. The year before, Joe Burrow was a 5th or 6th, 7th round pick, something like that, or 4th. I don't know. But the next year, he has the greatest season in the history of college football for a quarterback, wins the Heisman National Championship.
Joe Brady changed his life.
Yeah, and then Josh Allen
What's crazy is that, like, I don't even think Joe Brady called plays that year, but I can double check. But I mean, obviously passing concepts guy, and he's gonna do this whole like Josh Allen discourse. Like, this is objectively false. Like, Josh Allen was really good before Joe Brady. I hate that he does this because, like, I think he's talented, but I think he's been like fed this lie and like holds on to it. Like Josh Allen threw for the most yards his entire career. Several
was a great quarterback in
coordinators.
the NFL.
One sec, I'm about to lose. Damn, I just lost fucking around.
Let's be clear. But he had a lot of issues with turning the ball over, all those different things. Couldn't win an MVP. How is he so great all these years and doesn't? A lot of then Josh Allen was a great quarterback in the NFL. Let's be clear. But he had a lot of issues with turning the ball over, all those different things.
He did, like, okay, so since the last time I've heard him, he's kind of pivoted off his take. Before he said he was like a broken quarterback, then Joe Brady came and fixed him. Now he's saying he has some turnover issues, which I don't even like doing this because I've got the window open. Let's go Josh Allen by year. I think this is. I just feel like it's just generally lazy, unless I'm totally wrong. Josh Allen by year, because like the 2020 year was crazy. 2020 was crazy. 37 touchdowns, 10 picks, 4,500 yards. Finished second in MVP. That was under Dable. The success rate was the highest. Success percentage rate was the highest of his entire career at 56.5%. He did throw the 10 picks. This year, he's great. Obviously, like Joe Brady's there. This year, he has 3,000 yards, 22 touchdowns, 10 picks. Last year, he had 28 touchdowns and 6 picks. So, like, that 2020 version, well before Joe Brady was there, well before Joe Brady was there, he was unbelievable. Like, I don't know, dude. It's just, like, Joe Brady's great, but you don't have to, like, tear down, like, what Josh Allen has done along the way to, like, kind of prop that up. I just disagree with it, and I think it's dishonest.
Things, couldn't win an MVP. How is he so great all these years and doesn't ever even sniff, essentially, an MVP?
Doesn't sniff an MVP. He finished second. It's funny because this is almost a case for, and here we go. In 2020, second in MVP. In 2022, third in MVP. Like, what are we doing? I don't know. It's just incorrect.
Insert Joe Brady. He wins the MVP last year. So that's a clear.
He did win the MVP under Joe Brady last year, but also, like, that wasn't his best year.
A guy who had 2 different quarterbacks, right? 2 different styles of play. However, he's gotten the most out of both of them. I think that's very cool, especially with Bryce Underwood.
And he's been
And he-
exposed to championship habits.
Oh
'cause he
yeah,
won the
and
national
the
title.
fact
You
that
know
he
what it looks
hasn't
like.
been a head coach, he's been on a national championship team as a coordinator. He's been on the NFL team. He's seen it done different ways and essentially the right way for me. So this new everybody's saying, well, he doesn't have experience. Well, at some point you're going to get a guy
Nothing
that has
gets
never
past
been a
my
head coach,
bow.
but he's been groomed and been doing all the things and taking all the steps, and it's all
My bad. I didn't know there was any sound on this game.
always the young offensive mind, right?
Yeah.
And if he's self-aware enough, which I think he is, he hires guys around him to make sure that that is not an issue or a crutch that he has no experience as a head coach. And the next guy is actually a
Real
perfect
quick,
example
Dev,
of that.
I would just say one thing to back you on that is I look at the 3 best coaches in college football right now. Ryan Day was a coordinator, no head coaching experience. Kirby Smart was a coordinator, no head
good
coaching
from the
experience.
start.
And
Both
Dan
good
Lanning.
from the start.
Yep.
All three.
So,
Good
all
from the
three.
start.
And those would be the 3 best coaches currently in college football. All 3 were coordinators to head coach. So it's not crazy.
And here we go. Let's roll with the next one, Kenny Dillingham. And he's the perfect example, right? He was the hot coordinator at Oregon, right? He goes to Arizona State, a program that is not even on the radar as far as comparison to Michigan in any way, honestly. The first year they struggle some. The next year, Big 12 championship, quarterback is player of the year, and they're in the playoff, right? And so it's kind of proof of what I was just saying about Joe Brady. Just because he hasn't been a head coach doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's one of the most self-aware, transparent people that I got a chance to meet with this season. And
I wonder if it like hurts some Michigan egos, like when these guys are going to use Michigan as a leverage point to get a raise. Like I wonder if that hurts them because I think everybody thinks that like they are the job. And I wonder if I feel this way about Ohio State. Like I like best job in the country, you can get anybody. But it's like got to be a little bit of an ego hurt to see these guys like not come or like go elsewhere, to be honest.
I think that he could do an amazing job again with Bryce Underwood. Let's be clear. Most of these guys are who can help the quarterback because the quarterback is the most important position in the entire university. Let's be clear, right? Because football drives everything. All those academic buildings, it's because of football. The other sports are funded because of football. So the person that is controlling football for the most part is the quarterback. He is making all the decisions. And if he's great, the university can continue to be great. So Kenny Dillingham, I think, will be great for a Bryce Underwood. And then Jed Fish, right? For a number of different reasons.
I think it's going to end up being Jed or PJ Fleck, which I think is fried either way.
He knows the program. He's been there before. He's made it clear he's a good head coach. He hasn't ever gotten a chance to have the athletes as a head coach, though, right?
Yeah.
The program that can feed into all the different things. He's an offensive of genius. He's been at the NFL level. He's got a great relationship with a lot of different guys in the NFL level, college football level. There are not people that are going to say, I don't want to go work for Jed Fish at Michigan. Right. Now, some people may say, I don't want to work for Jed Fish at Arizona. Some people might say, I don't want to work for Jed Fish at Washington. But at Michigan, I think that changes a ton, and his relationships will be big there.
Yeah.
Another name that a lot of people aren't really saying too much, Kevin Koger. Kevin Koger is one of the best leaders I've ever gotten.
That is the first time I've heard that name.
To be around. So that's funny because he's your tight end coach. He's my teammate right before, right? Yeah. And his leadership as a player, you can see, first he's going to play in the NFL for a long time. Then he's going to be a great coach. And obviously he didn't play in the NFL for a long time, but what most people don't know, he would have. He tore his Achilles in prep for the draft, right? And so now all that is derailed. He quickly pivots, and because of his leadership and his knowledge of football, he's able to become a coach, start the college level. Now he's in the NFL, and I just believe he's gotten interviews in the NFL to be an NFL coordinator, and so
I do think hiring someone like with NFL knowledge is like the best way, like you chase quote unquote Ohio State, right? Because I'm a firm believer that like NFL scheme like really trumps all, and like those guys that have like spent time like learning that kind of thing, I think it's perfect. I think that's what honestly, I think that makes them perfect for college. They'll be able to out scheme everybody because they're used to a world where like you're set to go 8-8 and then kind of go from there.
So I really believe that could be a piece. You bring a guy like that back who loves football, who loves Michigan, I will watch him just rip people's faces off just because they don't love Michigan enough, right? It was so cool. And then you can probably share more about him as a tight end coach. But Kevin Koger is a guy that I think if you wanted to give a guy a chance who hasn't been a head coach, he could be a guy that loves Michigan and understands what it's about. All those things we just talked about, you don't have that issue with a Kevin Koger, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, in terms of, you hear it all the time, like alignment and leadership and buy-in. I mean, Kevin Kugler, like off the top of my head, I don't know if there's a better person that I would put my trust in to get a bunch of young players aligned and bought into him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's really intelligent, and it's a matter of time, I'd imagine.
Of course, he's going to be a coordinator, head coach, or somewhere very quickly.
So
and I don't see why
the
Michigan couldn't be the guy.
Right.
Yeah. So last guy.
That does sound like someone that, like, the next head coach, you would hope that they hire him as a coordinator. That's what it sounds like to me. But I don't know. I admittedly, don't know a ton about him.
And nobody's ever going to say this name, but I've watched him very closely from San Jose State to now Arizona. Arizona is going to be a huge threat next year. You book it, Brent Brennan. And he loves Arizona, and they gave him a chance to be at a Power 5 level, a Power 4 level now. However, I don't think he's too tied in emotionally to not take a job like this, right? Mm-hmm. This is what it is. It's college football. Kids are going to leave for greener pastures, I guess, or better opportunities, and coaches are going to do the same thing. They've been doing it forever. I don't see why it would stop now, and he hasn't been there long enough to say, I love it here too much where I won't want to be the coach at the University of Michigan. He's one of those guys similar to a Signetti who has been through the ringer, went through the lower levels, did it the hard way, understands how to build a culture. And if you are questioning that, all you have to do is look at Arizona a year ago and look at Arizona this year. Now, a lot of you may not watch a lot of Arizona football. I get it, right? They're on late at night. But guess what? I've had a number of their games. And I had a number of his games when he was at San Jose. And the way his football teams play, the way they respond to him, it's nothing short of incredible. And he's a star in the making. And I don't see why Michigan couldn't jump on that and watch how he can develop. Noah Fafita is entirely.
It is interesting to hear them talk about that might be the more realistic approach, like to talk about getting someone that has to prove it at Michigan rather than like someone that's already established. And maybe like that approach kind of saves them in the long run, obviously, because like we've seen like the proven coach market doesn't feel like it's been all that great. TBH.
A different quarterback than he was a season ago, and it's unbelievable. It's so cool to watch him play. Obviously, he's super, super talented, right? But some things were unlocked with a coach that has believed in him and whatever the case may be. So I
do wonder how much this like new investigation is going to have like on the impact of like what kind of job that is.
Would really love to see a Brent Brennan get an opportunity and see if we can replicate some of the things we see with IU, but except with more money and more resources.
Yeah. I think what the positive of this is, Michigan may end up being and likely will end up being better on the field because of this. And I think back.
Yeah, it's no question that neither you or I were fans of Sharon being the coach at the University of Michigan just because of it had nothing to do with the personal stuff. It's you're being friends with the team. We've outlined it. If you watch the blueprint, everybody knows. Jake, but especially.
I just lost again. I'm so not locked in.
See, Devin Gardner, let's be clear. We did not believe that Sharon. Now, do we ever just outright say he should be fired? We aren't here for that. But we are here to outline the facts of what's going on the football field, what's happening on the grass, and the things that we outline are not. It doesn't resemble a head coach, right? It just doesn't resemble what we want to see. And so I just make that clear. We're not second guessing it. We didn't,
And at Michigan, Sharon was basically a continuation from Jim Harbaugh. It made sense at the time. But I think if you're Michigan, you're an institution where there is going to be a large supply of head coaches, but there's only a large demand of people to want to be the next head coach. There's only one job. You should turn away 5 quality candidates. That's the position Michigan should always be in for these hires. You should say no to 5 quality candidates getting.
I don't know about all that, big dog.
The candidate you want. And I'm kind of fixating on 2 names. Kalen DeBoer from Alabama. There was some strong rumors that maybe he'd go to Penn State. I would just say Michigan's different. And I know Penn State was ready to cut plate checks. Michigan's different. And what's interesting is for DeBoer, you go from Washington to go to Bama with the hopes of continuing high-level success. What he's realizing quickly is he's being compared to Nick Saban in everything he does. The difference is when Saban was at Alabama had the most resources in college football. It was NIL before NIL. Now they're competing with everybody else. There's not a massive talent advantage. So Kalen DeBoer is still a good coach, but he'll never be Saban. And I think he's quickly realizing I'll never satisfy the hunger of this fan base. So maybe Michigan steps in and takes on that opportunity. But
I do wonder where the DeBoer's unhappy rumors came from, though, to be honest.
I really love Jed Fish for so many of the reasons you mentioned. I think the context is he took over Arizona, dumpster fire program, dumpster fire athletic department, 9 figures of debt, and built them into a contender. I mean, they were a 10-win program before he goes to Washington. At Washington, what does he do? People like to point out the record. I want to point out the context of when DeBoer left, Washington graduated all their players to the NFL. Then the players hit the portal. Then Washington goes from an advantageous position in the Pac-12 to conference realignment in the Big Ten. And from a resource standpoint, I know this. Washington is a bottom third. They're in the lower half, I believe, in the bottom third of the Big Ten in terms of NIL spending. So for the people that want to point out Jed's record, I would say he's overperforming based on the
I didn't realize that. I thought they had just a little bit of bread out there. I'll have to double check that one or ask around.
resources he's been given. I don't know that there's name your coach. I don't think they're winning with the current roster makeup of what Jed had to endure this season, particularly at the line of scrimmage. The players love him. And I've followed a number of Washington games, and this is, I think, a testament more than anything. You know, wins and losses, that's easy to quantify and see. But man, I've talked to a number of coaches on that staff, Dev, guys that said, I didn't want to get into coaching, but I would always coach for Jed Fish because he's been loyal to me and he's been great to me. And they are just like indebted and fully bought into Jed Fish as a human being. I think that's important. And lastly, you know, you pointed out his journey, and having a large network is important. Sharon didn't have a network. All he really ever knew was
you will highlight
Michigan.
that on a number of occasions.
Jed.
That honestly is the most attractive thing about Jed Fish. I was talking about what do they call them? Rolodexes, I guess, in the good old sport. I think that like Jed Fish, because he's been coaching for so long, will have a pretty significant Rolodex. I do think that matters. That's a great point by good old Jake Butt. Also, I love podcasters that wear hats too because it makes me feel better about me always wearing the hat.
Coached under Bill Belichick, Steve Spurrier, Jim Harbaugh, Sean McVay. I mean, I'm probably forgetting. He's coached under some legends of the game. That means he has a vast, vast network for him to bring in a staff. So I see a lot of people turning their noses up on Jed Fish as he's one of the favorites to get this job. I would be very, very pleased if Jed Fish was the next head coach. He has my support fully.
Yeah. So for Caleb DeBoer, this has been my thinking. I don't know him a ton, but I know him a little bit, right? The way he kind of thinks. I know people that know him, and I just can't see him, even though it's Michigan, leaving Alabama and allowing for his legacy to possibly say, oh, the expectation was too much, so he ran.
Oh, W take. Great take. Let's go. That is a great take. That is a take we like. Caleb DeBoer is super competitive. And also, like, Bama, also, like, on the flip side, will not let him leave because Bama has seen your team could go on a free fall in terms of coaching-wise if you think you're going to get a coach and you can't get him. Hold on to your coaches super tight. Like, that's the other part of it that I don't think people are talking about enough.
You know what I mean? Even though we know that we have brains, right? So we know, okay, the expectation is firstly ridiculous because Bama was essentially cheating, right? They were cheating, right? And I love that. I love that Coach O gets on a podcast and says, hey, man, this is what it was. This is what we got. I mean, we knew, but it's good to hear a coach finally say, okay, maybe I wasn't the greatest coach of all time. Maybe I just had all the better players. And my first string guy was better than everybody else's first string guy.
Right.
Because I paid him money. But that's neither here nor there. The expectations are obviously ridiculous, but his legacy has been that he's a great coach, right? He turns Washington into a national power, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I just don't feel like, even though we know that wouldn't be his legacy, the internet is a crazy place, right? Yeah. Crazier things have gotten going, and I don't see him being comfortable with, you know, the word around town being, he ran away because the expectation was too much. Alabama doesn't have the resources that they used to have because you're not really able to cheat as much because everybody basically can cheat now. But I think that his ability to
I'm so ass at this game, guys. I'm sorry.
Recruit with Morgan as his general manager, who used to be at the University of Michigan.
Yes,
and his
one of the
ability
best
to
at
coach,
his jobs in college football.
100%. And his
was
ability
also
to
at
coach
Washington.
football. Yeah, that he was with them.
Yeah,
the ability. He actually left Michigan for Washington to work with the board.
Yeah.
But his ability to coach football and recruit and all these different things, I think he's going to be just fine in Alabama. So I don't think he's terrified of not being successful. Plus, I don't think he would want to leave and seem like he's running away from expectation.
What you should mention is, like, how good is the Michigan job right now? I wonder if they're going to, like, speak honestly and candid about that element of it.
Anything is possible. Like I said, this is Michigan. Yeah. However, I just don't see him doing that. But the Jed Fish, that's of course, I had him on my list as well. for a number of different reasons. I think that's
It's
one
a fair
that we
thought
really could,
with the board.
because it's tough, you
Yeah.
know, because you have to think about that of like, okay,
Coaches care about that. They do.
of course they care about their legacy.
Yeah.
Well, like his legacy, as much as crazy Alabama fans or whoever is saying, "Oh, we don't love this guy," whatever. People that know football, his legacy is intact. We know he's a great football coach.
Yep.
But you know, if he does do that, it'll be hard to defend. And then what if he doesn't have success at Michigan? Now you're really in hot water of like, okay, you ran away and whatever, and I just don't think he's comfortable with that. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. But obviously he'll make the best decision if he's offered the job for him and his family. But I don't see him doing that.
Yeah. If he did, I mean, if he did, the Bama fans would be in for a rude awakening, because if he were to leave, it would be because the fan base there drove him out
of
Alabama.
100%.
To your point, he's a great coach. And if Michigan gets him, that would be a slam dunk home run hire. But yeah, man, it's it's really unfortunate. You kind of alluded to this after the Ohio State game that the whispers had been going on. We're still going to cover this, as more information comes about, if anything changes, any key coaching hires. As of now, Michigan, it seems like they plan to play in the bowl game. Again, I give a ton of credit there to Biff Poggi for stepping in.
Let's just be clear, Jake. A lot of people in that building are celebrating because they like Biff Poggi as their head coach, period.
Yeah.
Like there's no
Team looked the best under Biff this year. Just saying.
reason for us to tiptoe around that.
Yeah,
they look at Big Poggi as an actual head coach, kind of like that father figure. Yep. And it's a lot of what you said. He's not doing this for money. He's got money. You've seen the interviews on ESPN and how he's comparing, like, hey, you didn't come get your Lambo. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he is intact financially.
Yeah.
He is solely doing this. He doesn't need clout, right? He's solely doing this because he loves and can't say like. He loves the process of the development of young men.
Yeah. And it's genuine. He's
done it for a long time. No guy subjects himself to the scrutiny that he had at a Charlotte, where you know you're probably not going to be able to win. It's Charlotte if you don't just love it.
Yeah.
Like what guy that's got a lot of money, done a lot of really well for himself is going to say, yeah, I'll just go coach at Charlotte.
Yeah.
No, it's an opportunity to develop young men. They didn't win enough football games, whatever the case may be, but he's back at Michigan, and it's such a blessing because now you got a guy who, first of all,
I do wonder what mic he uses because it sounds really good. Jake sounds a little better, but it definitely sounds louder. But his mic sounds good. And it's like not on screen, so that like always intrigues me.
Has already coached the team, right? It's not like some unfamiliar face, and they're going to play inspired, right? We're probably going to see a different Michigan football team, and a lot of the things that we went through on the film that we didn't like, we may see some of that subside at least for a moment against Texas.
Yeah, I mean, look, rightfully, I'm just putting myself in the shoes of the locker room. Like these players are probably, distrusting right now. They're uncertain, and they're looking for a voice to be able to answer questions that are unanswerable. And to your point, with Biff Poggi, when he gives an answer, his word is as solid as gold to those players. And I just think, again, Michigan's lucky. I think back to, I was there for the transition of Brady Hoke to Jim Harbaugh, and Jim Hackett was the interim AD at the time. And he came and set up team meetings with the players right away, and he met with us, and he filled us in with the process. And then I thought he did something that was really wise. He broke us up by class, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, and he did an exercise. He had us write down characteristics and traits we thought should be prioritized with the next head coach. What was our vision going forward? So suddenly, we became invested in the process. So I know that there was a team meeting already done last night, and it sounds like Ward is getting on that as well. And Michigan has a real opportunity here to go get the next great Michigan head coach. Like, that's what's on the table. The resources are in place. We talked about the young talent this year, but going out and getting a championship level head coach will lead to the development of Bryce Underwood, the development of technique and disciplined football, and improved special teams. I care about that. And Michigan getting back to competing for championships, on a week in, week out, and year in, year out basis. So, Debbie, if you got anything else, man, we might just be telling the audience to hang tight, and we'll keep them updated on when we hear anything else new.
Yeah, of course. All my thoughts are fairly clear. And like you said, we're going to just keep updating you on. We're not going to do an episode every single time, right? But you should already be liked and subscribed. That's for certain. But you should also be
people have notifications on because they were quick with the
Guess what else?
responses
Guess what else, Jake? I just want to say a big thank you because we're at 10K plus right now.
Let's go.
Road to 10K. I'm on that journey too, guys. Congrats to them for 10K. That's awesome. This is probably the of like the, you know, broadcast oriented Michigan shows, this is probably the best one, to be honest.
10K plus. You said you do it. You said you do it. Now, we've presented you with a ton of great stuff, and you have done your part. So we want to thank you so much for all the subscribers, and don't stop there. Just keep on rolling. 10.4 is great, but obviously there's more we can get to.
Yeah.
And stay locked into the social medias, right? Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all these things. Stay locked into that because we'll have updates as things come down the pipe. But yeah,
this will be a 40K sub podcast here, like in the future. Like, this is a really good podcast. Like, it's better than Crane and Company in terms of like, you know, just general dialogue. I have like a good feel on college football, and also like these guys, like, I don't know, they just are really good communicators. So definitely a really like plus show. Definitely a really plus show, to be honest. I'm trying to think of what else I can look at. Let me just. Oh shit! Here's some Dillingham rumors. This is Kenny Dillingham. I put out a video a little bit ago talking about like it sounded like he was about to get an extension with Arizona State. I was hit with the not so fast, my friend. Maybe this is a little bit premature. So if Kenny Dillingham takes a job, I'll look like an idiot. But the reports earlier that they were getting close to a extension, so that's why I kind of hit pause on some things. But here's the Kenny Dillingham interview.
On talks about a contract extension with ASU.
Yeah, I know they sent, you know, my agent one after the last game at some point. You know, that was the week that I had about 1.5 billion meetings. So I'm not really involved in that. That's kind of my team. I coach football.
So any comments about some of the rumors that are going out there with you in Michigan, or has this been an ongoing thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's cool, I guess. I mean, that's one of the best programs in the country. It's one of the most, it's one of the best logos in the country. I think everybody can agree there. In today's era, I think it's one of the best jobs in the country, and I think everybody can attest to that. That doesn't change how I feel about here. That doesn't change that my sister's my neighbor. That doesn't change that my parents live 3 doors down. That doesn't change that my son's best friend is my sister's daughter. So none of that changes, but it is one of the best jobs in America. It's an unbelievable brand, iconic brand, and it's a great opportunity for somebody.
You said on a recent podcast,
a great opportunity for somebody. You know, I mean, here we go. Early, maybe leaving the door open both ways. All right, Dilly.
that you hadn't had any conversations with any schools during the season. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I mean, I had one conversation with a school because the AD kept calling us right after the season. Said, "Listen, I appreciate it, but that's not something for me. But I respect I respect you as a person. But it wasn't for a job. It was more out of respect for somebody. Other than that, I still have not had any contact myself with anybody.
Does this get annoying to, like, every time there's a job opening, your name, and then you've got to kind of go through this?
Episode 14, right? Episode 14. We suck. We're good. You're good. You're bad. Fire everybody. Your coaches suck. You failed at this. You're good at that. Episode 14, season 3, to be continued.
What's it mean, Kenny, that the school is willing to work with you with your contract just to keep you happy here in Philly?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't dove in too deep in it, so I don't even know really what that looks like in great detail, to be honest. I looked at it originally, after the season. A lot of that stuff gets done in the season, right? Ours got done after the season, and then I go into what's next mode. And if you can look out here, we don't have as many players out here, so and I want to coach football, so I went into football coaching mode, meeting with my players mode, and that's kind of where I'm at. The business side of that, I hire somebody to do that.
It's good. It's funny because it's like, no, I didn't talk with any schools, but at the same time, like, my agent, it's his job to talk to him, unless I feel like personally obligated to talk to him. This is interesting because he's like kind of leaving the door open for potentially, but also like, I don't know, he's giving Arizona State everything that they want to hear. Arizona State fans everything that they would want to hear from this, while also like giving Michigan all the flowers and maybe like leaving the door open for someone to potentially interpret that that he would consider the Michigan job after talking about how great of a job it was at great length. So I don't know. Kenny, I don't think he's going. I think he's absolutely staying put at Arizona State. But obviously, like, you wait till that extension is like signed, sealed, delivered. I think the only coach to not get an extension during the whole Penn State thing, or the couple coaches, Kenny Dillingham was one. I think DeBoer was the other. And I believe DeBoer has a pretty light buyout additionally.
I mean, I love this place. Like I said, I love this place. Like I said, is that a long enough pause? But this place is it's a special place to me.
Kenny, what would be your message?
That's intriguing, right? Like human nature wise, like when you're at a place that you love, but you know another opportunity might end up being a better opportunity, like both can be true. Like you can love the place where you're at and never want to leave that place, but also acknowledge that like, hey, like this next stop could like absolutely change my life. I feel like, I mean, obviously, like I was never a big time coach. I was never a coach really at any level. But when I was on the radio, I loved morning radio. Morning radio meant everything to me. I loved my staff. I loved who I worked with. I loved kind of being able to be a part of like everybody's like journey, like every morning on their way into work. Like I loved the call. I loved it. I loved being able to like drive 5 minutes down the road and like be home or like be able to like catch my mom for lunch. Like I loved it. But when the opportunity was there for me to like like go to Columbus and like work with Zach and kind of like chase the dream I had of being like a college football, creator, the meeting where I quit, I kind of like afterwards, like I submitted to retire, but my meeting afterwards, even though like a lot of like horrible shit happened, it didn't take away from like the amount of love I had for like everybody in that building. And in particular, like two people in particular that I like, it was really hard for me to leave these two people. And not saying that that's what that pause is, but that's kind of where that pause took me. Like maybe I did in the wrong order. And obviously like my story's definitely like, I'm not talking about millions of dollars. I'm talking about like, face of anything, like just like my own, like, going from like working at my Akron, Cleveland radio station that like I got to like build up myself to then leaving and being 2 hours away from like all my friends and like from, Akron radio and like leaving that behind, like that sucked. So maybe like that was coded to me like kind of the pause that I had in my car after I was leaving Rubber Seed Radio to like go pursue like college football. Not saying that he's going or that he's not, but that's just something that like I noticed. Like, is that like a I love it here, but I'm gonna have to go if the right opportunity arises, or is that I love it here and I'm so overwhelmed with emotion because I love it here so much that I will never leave? Just me looking way too far into it.
To ASU fans, obviously.
But I do think that's a human nature thing. I think everybody like encounters that at some point in their life, whether it's leaving your first job or it's like, getting rid of your first car, whether it's like moving out of your home into your next home, like both can be true. I think that's honestly where college football fans can appreciate this sport and also like maybe not see it, I guess.
Like what you're doing here and kind of on an emotional roller coaster, every time your name just gets connected to this job, that job.
They're with you. but no, I think it's a testament to what the president's done, what the AD's done, the city's selling out, the kids who chose to come back here when they could have gone other places. So I think it's a testament to everybody. I know every coach says that in this scenario, but it actually is. Right? It's a testament to everybody. And when you're the leader of a group of people, you're not making individual decisions. You're making group decisions. You're making group thought. And I think for me, I know where I stand. I know what I want. And as a leader of a group, it's my job to take care of groups of people and to do right by groups of people, not just Kenny Dillingham.
That's important. Do right for groups of people, not just Kenny Dillingham. Huh. Is that honestly like, let me walk back like a little bit of what I said before, right?
You were this emotional when you got the job. The emotions, I guess, still here all these years.
I did not need the double shimmer there.
On Monday, you said it was kind of 50-50 if you were to guess as to what kind of bets would and wouldn't participate. Do you have any better of an idea of who will and won't?
I kind of do, but I don't want to go through a list because I don't want to miss anybody. It's just a different day and age. We have two running backs right now that practiced. today, just because some guys are dinged up, and other guys and the decisions they're making for the betterment of themselves, which I support. I think that's the biggest thing for me is I just want to see the best from our guys.
Kenny, the last time you guys talked about this was after the West Virginia game. You said this is home, but you said you owe it to your players, the program, to the businesses here to keep pushing and pushing. What did you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
It would be really. I mean, look, they also ended a commitment today from a 2027 kid, but obviously none of that stuff even friggin' matters. But I will say that like the fact that like Sam Levette's leaving and he's like so invested, like Dillingham's a great coach, man. And not that he can ever build them up to be like Oregon. I think that would be kind of a tough one. If Jed Fish leaves, they could definitely kind of fill the void. And build them up to be a Washington type, kind of what DeBoer had at Washington. I think is kind of the ceiling of Arizona State, and that is probably good enough.
Yeah, the state of college football, you can call it what it is. It's an arms.
Also, like, be super careful with where you end up, because we've seen these coaches like not work and like it be over very, very quickly. Like right now, Kenny Dillingham might be in the perfect situation. I believe he's at his alma mater too.
Race. They're the haves, they're the have-nots. It's an arms race, and there's nothing wrong with that because the players are the ones reaping the benefits of it, and I absolutely love that. I mean, is the navigation of this era crazy and just the wild, wild west? Absolutely. But is the intent?
Also with Kenny Dillingham, he's a coach that came in during the Wild Wild West. So he knew the Wild Wild West and didn't have to like learn how to coach one way and then pivot and learn how to coach another way. Like his entire forging is going to be in this Wild Wild West era. That's why I think guys like him and Dan Lanning are going to eventually like be recognized or considered like top end of the sport. You know, push comes to shove down the road. Because like they're the guys that aren't pivoting. They're the guys that are going to be always at the forefront of this because they were forged in the fires of the Wild West.
Correct, and that's to get these guys as much money as they can for what they do and putting their bodies on the line. Absolutely, but it 100% is an arms race right now in college football more than it's ever been. Do I think it's going to be like this forever? No, but right now in this wild, wild west that we're in, there are haves, there are have-nots. You've seen programs go all in, and you've seen the reward from doing that.
Texas Tech is who he's referring to.
Some teams that have gone all in have won championships for the first time in the history of their program, or one of the few times where they've been the best that they've ever been in their program or in the recent future. And that's everybody's going to elude that.
I finally fucking beat it. I swear I'm better at this than I've been letting on. I'm also like listening while I play.
To one team. It's not one team. It's a multitude of teams. It's just the nature of this profession. This profession's changed so drastically in the last 3 years. It's not even comparable. You could think it's similar, but the inner workings is completely different. How it operates is completely different. And that's not for the bad. I didn't say that was for the bad. It's just for the chaos. And it's everything is different than it was. And I think that's just the state of college football.
So practice starting late today was just a change of your schedule?
Yeah, I like to play basketball, to be honest. So I went and played basketball.
So it wasn't about the Michigan stuff. There was no anything. It was just I like to play basketball. Is why schedule got changed.
Well, this morning.
Schedule.
Yeah, I like to play basketball, to be honest. So I went and played basketball this morning. So I told everybody else they could sleep in, but I went and played a little hoops this morning.
Great answer, Kenny. He's such like Dan Lanning light coded too, man. Less arrogant, it seems like.
Do you think you have everything you need here to keep this going in the right direction, to keep the program the highest?
That's not a possible question because that changes every day. We could have everything we need today. We could be $10 million short tomorrow. And that's the nature of this era because
he's doing a really good job of while making Michigan or making Arizona State fans happy. He's also doing a lot in terms of still keeping the pressure on Arizona State because look, I want to stay here, but only if it's the right place to stay because I do at the end of the day care about my coaching career as well. This is a good presser from him, really good. And also I love how other coaches not named Ryan Day don't do a lot of coach speak at kind of these kind of things.
Everybody's not going to keep up with the Joneses. There's people that want to be at the peak. Not everybody just wants to have what other people have. There are programs and people out there that want more and that want to do more than everybody. So when one person responds, 15 people respond equally at a greater rate. So asking that question, do I think the buy-in from the university, are they doing, I think they're trying to win, they're trying to do this. This is just a crazy era of college football. But it's at no fault. It's not anybody's fault at the era we're in. And I will say I believe the university is fighting, scratching and clawing to stay not just competitive, but try to stay a program that can compete for championships. And that's always something that I'm striving to drive for.
Does that weigh on you when some blue bloods might target you or be interested in you, and given what you're just saying there?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's constantly changing, right? So like your beliefs and what you want never change, right? What you believe in never change, but everything around you can change, right? And I think that's the crazy part of the era we're in, and it's an impossible thing. It's an impossible thing to know. The industry could change while we were at practice today. Like something could have drastically happened that could have altered the direction.
He's so obsessive with not getting left behind. He's going to be a fucking great coach wherever he goes. I don't think he's going to Michigan, but he'll be a fucking great one at Michigan. Like a great one.
Of a program that we play. One person could have said, we want to win a championship at one of another school that we're playing. And it's completely different. We're sitting here in a completely different spot. So I think that's the era of this, is you've got to be ready to steer a ship. And when you're steering a ship, right, and you want to steer I shouldn't say a ship. You don't want to steer a houseboat. This is an area you have to steer a speedboat. Because if you're not willing to turn and turn and turn and go different directions and change on a dime, right, then you're eventually going to fail. It's a place in an era in college football where the adaptability is at an all-time high.
How much do you have to talk to players, and are players asking questions because they probably see all this out on social media just like everybody else?
My players and I, we joke around. I mean, I feel like I have a really good relationship with our team, our players. You guys saw me out here today. Everybody's joking around. They're joking out that you guys are out here early with all your cameras. That's the nature of it. But they know what my heart is. They know what I believe, and they know where my heart's at.
Kenny, what brings out that emotion and gets you choked up?
Just this place.
What about the place?
Everything.
You talk about having
the calendar's the college football calendar's messy as hell in a lot of ways. You talk about just kind of the landscape is changing constantly. Are there any kind of big picture broad strokes of changes you'd like to see make them kind of simplify and make things?
I don't think there really is. It's you can get in the weeds.
Right answer.
And it's you got to pick a side, and the sides aren't good to pick. And I don't think important people enough are going to pick a side. I think that's what it boils down to. It boils down to really important people aren't going to want to be on one side of this and fight that battle. And for that reason, we're going to kind of live in the world of chaos. But like I said, it's a world of chaos to the people that are in it, right? To the players, to the coaches, to the administrators. The finances of this thing are skyrocketing. They're not going down. So it's not like college football is dying, like some people say. I think that's a fallacy. It's as popular as it's ever been, and it's going to continue to skyrocket in popularity. Just the chaos of it, and the business of it, and how it operates, what it takes to win, all of that stuff is just drastically different than what it was, and it's constantly changing.
You talk about how you have those in-person kind of joking style conversations with people who are on the team right now about those rumors. What are the conversations like with people who just signed on to ASU over the past couple of weeks?
I really haven't had many of those conversations, to be honest.
Kyle Dillingham and Utah are stepping away from each other. I know you've had a very high respect for Kyle. Just what are your thoughts on it?
Unbelievable run. I mean, that's a guy who does not get enough credit. Could be the best coach in this generation.
Crazy, man. From Urban to Kyle, and then Urban Ryan. Woo! Hey, Urban might be the sauce, man, amongst college football.
Right? Definitely top 5 in my mind, probably top 3. He doesn't get enough credit for what he did. He did something remarkable for a long time. And I don't think he gets enough credit for really being one of the best coaches of this era. And I can say that with a lot of confidence that from inside the industry or the people around, he was one of the best coaches of this era. And I don't think he gets enough flowers.
You talked about how you want to model this program after what he built over the last 20+ years. Is that something you still believe in?
100%. Now, you can't anymore because it's completely different, right? Right? The changing in the landscape of college football, what was 3 years ago is dead. I shouldn't say dead, it's completely different. What it takes to win, how to navigate winning, the ability to move and shake, and the roster rotations that you have on your roster, it's not the same model that it was, right? Yep. Those models are changing. But I respect the thought process behind what he accomplished is amazing. To be able to do that in this era would be amazing. And that's a great challenge.
Thanks, Kenny.
Thank you.
I like Kenny a lot, man. That was a great interview. Curious to see what Michigan does over the next couple of days. I do think they need to hire a coach sooner rather than later. But I do wonder, again, there's an investigation now taking place into the athletic department, and I wonder kind of how that will spill over in the wild world of college athletics. But I'll holler at you guys.